So why do we often end up in the wrong relationships, as it were? So I really, really like this image, which one of our members shared on Instagram, which I did credit him with, because this made me laugh so much and it keeps making me laugh out loud. Relationships are like a walk in the park, Jurassic Park, and that has been the story of my life, sadly, but no more from my learnings. So let's see if we can make it a real walk in the park next time. But what I wanted to say was that the ADHD brain is arguably hardwired to be more vulnerable to abuse or unhealthy relationships, or to stay in unhealthy relationships, to choose unhealthy relationships. And there's many reasons for that, which I'll go into. But that is the first takeaway that I wanted to say. It is not your fault. Our brain is arguably set up so that we choose the wrong relationships, which is a difficult pill to swallow. However, we will try. So why are we hardwired to fall into the wrong relationships? And this isn't just ADHDers, this is a lot of humans as well. So if these apply to you, if you're non-ADHD and you're watching, do have a think about these. So low self-esteem from childhood, you may feel flawed. Your parents may have not given you much attention. You may have had to fight for their love. You may have been bullied at school by teachers, been made to feel less than. And we are estimated as adults with ADHD to have had 20,000 more negative messages on a frequent basis by the age of 12 than neurotypical children. So you're this, you're that, you're lazy, you're disorganized. So we do have that imprinted on us that we are flawed, which inherently is going to give us low self-esteem, which makes us more vulnerable to the wrong type of relationships. We are also much more vulnerable to what's called gaslighting in a relationship because of poor memory. So we're more vulnerable to being manipulated and made to think that our memory is flawed and that it's, oh, well, maybe that didn't happen like I thought it happened. So that's a way that we can be manipulated, or just forget, or just have poor memory, or even just be in a relationship, just forget how bad it is and just remember the good stuff. We forget how painful it is. We also tend to go into autopilot mode. So we go along with events, we don't question them, we just kind of like, oh yeah, this happened. And then before you know it, you look back and you go, wait, what happened there? Because we're not conscious enough, or don't have that thinking time, that pause that so many people without ADHD have to stop ourselves getting into situations before they escalate. Another thing that I've noticed that a lot of adults with ADHD do, and I've noticed this anecdotally within the Facebook groups and people talking, is that we are attracted to emotionally cold people more often than not, so that we can feel we can win their love and feel more worthy and less flawed as a result of this. And that might also be to do with the way that you were parented. If your parents were a bit aloof and you thought that that was what love looked like, that you had to win over people, and that people that give their love freely, we might be a bit like, well, that's a bit suspicious. Why would they do that? And we have this kind of subconscious psychology that's inbuilt from childhood, that we have to win people over in order for the love to be real and to be worthy. And that is not the case. And as soon as we know that, we can start to make healthier choices about maybe more stable people who are going to give us secure and healthy love, so that we don't push it away. Because I know I've pushed that away in the past and gone for unhealthy relationships. We're also much more likely to have had parents that maybe had alcohol or substance abuse problems, or maybe problems with violence in the home because of genetic ADHD. And also, here's where we get to the neurobiochemistry. We are set up with our low dopamine and low norepinephrine, those brain chemicals with ADHD, to have some kind of addiction to either hot and cold, or where somebody's a bit emotionally cold, or roller coaster relationships, or abusive relationships, or relationships that keep breaking up, getting back together, because we do get that dopamine hit from drama, from maybe chasing bad boys or bad girls or unavailable people. There's the thrill of the chase, which with ADHD we need to be aware of, and we get that dopamine hit. Also, we tend to be people pleasers, so we try and impress other people so that maybe they don't see our flaws. So you know I've been in situations where I've been out on dates in the past, and instead of sitting back and going, do I like this person? Would I even be friends with this person? Do they share my values? Are they funny? Am I getting on with them? Are they, a bit of a prat? I've been thinking, I must win them over. And how can I impress them? And that has been my kind of primary modus operandi, if you like, for being on a date, rather than asking myself, do you know what? Is this person impressing me? And I think because of our people pleasing tendencies, we tend to do that a lot. And boundaries. Boundaries, which I'm going to bang on about today, which is one of the keys to getting this right. We tend to have a lack of boundaries for various reasons. And we've done a whole week on boundaries in the ADHD Unlocked community, and lots of presentations and resources in the members portal for members on boundaries and how to get those right. But we tend to not think about those, or let people walk all over our boundaries, or just not have any in the first place, or then put up walls and boundaries which are way too tight, and put up those castle walls so nobody can get in. And we tend to have what's also known as codependent tendencies. So we tend to give at the expense of others, and that's how we tend to get our value. So over giving and staying in situations where we are at detriment, not thinking about ourselves, but just overly giving. And the other reason why we're not great at relationships and picking the right people with ADHD as adults is impulsivity. If you have that presentation of ADHD, and risk taking, we tend to be impulsive, we tend to be risk takers. And I know I've done this before, where I've jumped into relationships too quickly, and you kind of get hooked on that love chemical, that PEA and that dopamine and that feeling, that wonderful butterflies feeling of being in love, which is amazing. And then when your second ex-husband proposes to you after a week of being together, you say yes. Of course you say yes. Maybe not next time, Michelle.